Hey everybody, what's up? And welcome back to the garden. Today we're going to be doing something, I guess probably another one of these how to grow something videos. And today we're going to be talking about amaranth. Now, amaranth are one of my all-time favorite things to grow in the garden because they're one of the first things that I ever grew in the garden. When I first started growing, I did a lot of watching like John Kohler and all, the classics. Well, some of the classics. We won't get into that here. Anyway, amaranth was one of the first things that I started to grow, and for the most part, they are so easy, at least where I live. Now, granted, I live somewhere where it gets really warm in the summer, and the amaranth seem to absolutely thrive in places that are warm. I think they're a relative of pigweed, which grows abundantly here, so it would make sense that amaranth would flourish too. It's one of the ancient grains, lots going on with that. It also is a dual purpose flower. Not only are they a valuable asset to the vegetable garden, but they are also absolutely gorgeous, and you can use them as cut flowers in flower arrangements. They hold up so well. Often, they'll just completely be able to hold their shape without water. They're excellent for use in wreaths and garlands and different things like that, and flower crowns. There are just so many reasons to love amaranth. Now, there's a few different types of amaranth. There are more kind of ornamental amaranths, the real bright colors, the Joseph's coats and things like that. I didn't grow any of those this year, so I don't have any to show you, unfortunately. There are also some varieties of amaranth that are more focused for the foliage and for the leaf. People say that the smaller leaves taste a lot like spinach. Personally, I never really got that connection. I usually just, throw a couple of the small baby leaves in a salad or something like that. It's never really been a mainstay for me personally. My first interest in growing amaranth was to grow it for the grains. Some varieties have black seeds, some have the golden seeds. For the grains, you really, really, really want to get the golden seed varieties. For example, in my garden this year, I have Elena's Rojo and Golden Giant. Those are both golden seed varieties of amaranth. Amaranth seeds are just really great. You can use them in granola recipes. You can even make amaranth flour, even though that would be probably a pretty good job considering you'd have to harvest a lot of amaranth for it. My favorite way is just to pop them like popcorn in a skillet and sprinkle them in oatmeal with some maple syrup. Absolutely delicious. Probably not the healthiest way to eat them, but seriously delicious. Now let's go ahead and get into growing these. Now the thing about amaranth is they are half hardy, I think is what you would call them, in that they can withstand a little bit of cold as a seedling, but you don't want to actively do that. Actually, the only reason that I know that they can stand a little bit of cold is because they so readily volunteer in the garden, which is another great attribute. Can we just say thank you for reseeding in my garden? I planted this one dark purple variety of amaranth about 5 years ago. I can't even remember the name of it, but the foliage is dark burgundy, the flower is dark burgundy, and the seeds are black. It still comes back in my yard every single year. I still have that every single year. I'm not complaining about that. I think it's awesome, but that's something to keep in mind if you are a person who doesn't like volunteers coming up in your yard. This maybe isn't for you if you are not a fan of that. But the good news is the volunteers are really easy to get rid of if you want to. I wouldn't recommend transplanting them because they don't seem to transplant well. Um, the same reason that I wouldn't recommend that you start these seeds in containers or in winter sowing containers or anything like that. Amaranth just doesn't transplant well. I'm not saying that it's not possible, but I haven't had very much luck with it personally. Even though these can withstand a little bit of cold early on in the spring, I definitely would recommend waiting to direct sow these out in the yard. I usually direct sow them about the same time that I plant sweet corn. It seems that I've recognized there's kind of a fine balance. If you wait till it gets too hot, the seeds don't germinate that great, but if you plant them too soon, they don't germinate that great either. So I tend to go by about the time I would plant sweet corn. So of course that's going to be different for everybody. And obviously you want to make sure that your last frost date has passed just to rule out any possibility of a killing frost for these guys. In my garden, these tend to stay kind of small for a while they're becoming established until the weather warms up. The way I sow these, I just sow a lot of seeds directly into my planting spot. I know that is not for everybody. I know not everyone, likes my dump a bunch of seeds in a hole method of planting that I do, and I totally understand that. These seeds are really small, so you can be very meticulous if you'd like, but for the most part, I've found that if you have a dense planting, they're going to be okay as long as, it's not something, as long as it's not something too closely planted together. On that same note, I don't thin out the seedlings either, and I have never had a problem. Now, this is one of those things I believe, do what you want to do. If you want to thin your seedlings out and only have, one seedling per 9 inches or whatever spacing you would like, that is totally up to you. I'm more of a careless gardener, so I don't thin the seedlings. I let them all fend for themselves. This year I had an absolutely awesome stand of amaranth, and I was so happy how it turned out. The fertilizer that I used was a Seabird guano. I'll put the link to the Seabird guano I used down in the description. You can check out the numbers, the nitrogen and all that numbers, and see how that measures up to what you do in your garden. Of course, I added some good compost before I even started the seeds, and really set these up for success because I wanted them to, just get as big as possible and make some really beautiful seed heads. The great thing about these is they are pretty carefree. For the most part, the insects, leave them alone. There usually is some damage on the leaves once the summer starts to heat up, but it's nothing that, kills the plant or anything like that. At least here it doesn't. These seem to be very resistant to powdery mildew. I had a crazy powdery mildew infestation on the zinnias right next to these. These things didn't even care. The fact that they are so pest free is seriously one of my favorite things about these. I am all for things that take care of themselves. That's really about it for this video. I'm so sorry that it wasn't more helpful. It's just one of those things that it's so easy to grow. Just wait till your frost is past, direct sow. Make sure you are feeding them. I added probably fish emulsion every, 2 to 4 weeks or something just to boost them along during the season. Wait till they turn brown in the fall, and you'll be having a really great harvest, hopefully. Some people might need to prop them up in the wind a little bit. Mine fell over. Lots of thunderstorms here, so that's a consideration. You might want to use some horizontal trellis netting if you're worried about that. But that's about it. I hope y'all are having a real great day. I hope this was helpful. If it was, don't forget to subscribe. I would absolutely love to have you, and making new videos every day. And I hope y'all are having a real great day. Talk to y'all later. Bye, guys.